It took a closing 21-5 run for Carolina to grab an opening night win. Better days are hopefully ahead, but man, that did not instill confidence.
This is Tyler Hansbrough, and you're listening to Locked on Tar Heels.
You are Locked on Tar Heels, your daily podcast on the UNC Tar Heels. Part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, what's up? It is Monday, November 4th, 2024. Welcome into the Locked on Tar Heels podcast, this live postcast edition of opening day. Man, you are joining us at the place to get your Tar Heels content every single day. It's all part of the Locked on Podcast Network. I'm your host, Isaac Schade, and I'm so glad to have you with us. Special shout out to all the everydayers joining us, all the members of the Locked on Tar Heels Discord, and of course, our Locked on Tar Heels insiders. This live edition is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Monday Night Football is in overtime as we start here. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. All right, guys, Carolina wins on opening night 90-76. It did take a 21-5 run to get us there. Joining me to help us unpack it all is 2009 North Carolina national champion and current NBA shooting coach, Mr. Mark Campbell. Mark Campbell making his inaugural appearance here on Locked on Tar Heels. Mark, we're just going to throw you right into the fire, brother, by looking at this thing where Carolina inexplicably goes down late to Elon, 71-69, finishes the game on the 21-5 run. We were trying to figure out what is going to be the vibe of this show. Is it going to be, look, this was just kind of a throwaway because it's opening night and it's like everything's going to be wacky and weird? Or is it like, hey, this is a harbinger of the potentially negative things that are ahead? Mark, where do you sit within that?
Whew, wow. I don't know that I need to make the decision now, but I think, reserve judgment would be good, but you would like to see a little bit more pop tonight. You would like to see a little bit less sweating, coming down to the wire. You would love to see some walk-ons get some buckets in this game. I think that's what you probably would have liked to see, not where we ended up needing RJ coming back in and putting a run together to end it.
And that's exactly what happened. Look, the ACC reigning player of the year just kind of took it on his shoulders there down the stretch. Carolina goes down by 2, as we said. He had a floater in the lane, a corner 3, and he and Elliott kind of put it all together, and then things started rolling. Mark, as you look at this game and what really happened in the second half, we were talking about it in our lead up here, and I said, I guess you felt okay at halftime. And you said, I don't know. There were some things even at halftime that I was already kind of like, eh. But then Carolina really kind of struggles here in the second half. So, Mark, was this more, in your opinion, more an issue of Elon just hitting shots, finding things, being hot? Or was this an issue of Carolina struggling defensively, struggling to diagnose a zone on opening night? Where would you sit with that?
I think we saw a lot of the warts that we kind of knew were going to be a part of this team. I think seeing him on opening night probably helps to put him on tape against somebody else to know, hey, with the lineup that we have, with the smaller lineup, with the lack of shooting, we need to play fast. We need to get out and run. And to do that, we have to get stops. And I think seeing more aggressive ball pressure, seeing more aggressive switching. We missed a lot of communication on off-ball screens in the first half. In the second half, they really got to pick and roll stuff, and we gave up mid-range shots. It's kind of the shot that we were playing a lot of drop coverage. That's a shot you're going to give up, and they hit some of them. So I think, thinking about our lineup and thinking about we have to play fast, I think that will kind of be a little bit easier to see once you see yourself play against somebody else.
Yeah, and my goodness, when, if you're going to start RJ Davis, Elliott Cadeau, and Seth Trimble all together, regardless of who you got at the 4 and 5 around them, we've talked about how active this defense has to be, how you got to do all the early work because you don't have a guy back at the rim to erase all your mistakes. So, Mark, as you look at that, what was going on tonight? Do you feel like there was enough of that activity and that pressure that you were just talking about, or is there another level of it that we didn't see tonight?
I think we're going to see another level. And I think we have the athletes to do it. When you see Jackson and Powell coming off the bench, Seth is incredible on the ball. So is Elliott. They can really turn up the pressure on the ball. I think you're going to start to see a lot more pressure on the ball, because if we get the ball under control, if we don't make entry passes easy, whether to the wing or in the post, like, it's a lot easier to go out in passing lanes. It's a lot easier to force bad shots. And I think our ball pressure is going to be the thing. If we're going to play smaller lineups, we're going to have to dial that up a lot.
Yeah, 100%. And like, as you look at it, Carolina had 11 steals in this game. You were talking about that breakneck pace. Carolina 18 fast break points, and honestly could have had more. There were multiple runouts that the Tar Heels just weren't able to finish in this one. And I think we'll see better days with that when you're not going at a 7'4" dude standing there in the lane. But we'll watch to see with that. Mark, as we think about the starting five, it was funny because we had all this conversation about, like, look, Elliott, RJ, they're locked in at the 1 and 2, Jay Wash at the 5. And I think we felt pretty good about Cade Tyson starting at the 4. But the question was more about Seth Trimble at the 3. Turned out we were looking at the wrong position, because Seth started at the 3, and it turns out it was not Cade Tyson at the 4, but instead Jalen Withers. Mark, you and I were texting at the beginning of this game. Was this a shock to you as much as it was to me?
I don't know if it was that much of a shock to me. I think that there's some value in, for me, I have no idea what's been going on in practice, but like, I assume that Jalen's had a really good summer, a really good fall. And I think even watching in the game, he gave them a certain level of defensive athleticism that you need in that starting lineup, especially if you're going to play 3 small guys. You're going to have a little bit of rebounding, a little bit of defensive athleticism. I think it's pretty obvious that Cade isn't going to give it to you over Jalen in that lineup. So I think there's a possibility that we see maybe somebody else take that spot as the year goes along, but it really is going to be something where it's Jalen's right now to hold on to, and turning up that defensive pressure is going to be the way that he makes a calling card for himself in that lineup.
The big thing we've been looking for with Jay Witt, like, I feel like the conversation last year with him so often was his lack of consistency. Tonight, it felt to me like he had a good bit of activity. He led Carolina in rebounding. You mentioned that he's got to get in there and rebound. Had a double-double right at 10 points, 10 boards, but 4 of those were on the offensive glass. Did knock down 2 threes, which, if I remember correctly, had 4 the entirety of last year. So he's already halfway to what he did last year. Maybe hopefully redeeming some of that ill-advised 3 that he took against Alabama. No, I don't know that there's much right now that can redeem that. But do you feel like you got that? I know there was that silly play from he and Seth towards the end of the game. You got to know time and score. And then he threw the ball off the rim, trying to pass it out to the top of the key, whatever, Mark. Like, do you feel like you saw the athleticism, energy, activity that you needed from him?
I think whoever is going to take that spot is going to be the person that's going to be the glue guy of the lineup. So if it's Jalen, if it's Drake Powell, if it's going to be Tyson, whoever it is going to end up being really the glue of that lineup. And it's going to have to be somebody willing to do the dirty work, somebody willing to sacrifice a little bit of their offensive energy to be the glue defensively, to be the one that disrupts things, to go rebound, to grab offensive rebounds. So I think that spot is something he can really do. It's just about leaning in, because that takes a mindset. It's not just something where, most of these guys on Carolina, they were the best player on every team they've played on. So it's really hard to adjust and go from being the best guy on the court when you've been on the court to being willing to do the dirty work and really committing to that, because it takes energy and effort.
Cade Tyson, on the other hand, finishes this game with 2 points, 1 of 6 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, played 16 minutes, had 2 rebounds, all of that. Mark, as somebody who is coming from Belmont, who is used to being the focal point of the offense, as you're just talking about, that all of these guys are used to, how much of a struggle, do you think what we saw from him tonight and at points in the preseason with kind of some of his struggles in the exhibition, do you think that's a lack of capability to level up? Do you think it's more about learning how to operate in a new way offensively?
Yeah, I think we got to reserve judgment right now
Okay.
when
Okay.
it comes to him. I think we got to see, because at Belmont everything was running through him, whether it was off screens or catching in DHOs or pick and rolls, whatever it was his offense. And now it's definitely not his offense. He's down in the pecking order. And so I think that's going to take a little bit of adjustment. I think there's going to be times where you really are going to need his shooting out there. And let's just think about, he missed a few shots tonight, but I don't think that this is a guy that you're not going to have shooting gravity with, and you're not going to be able to lean on him to create some advantage opportunities of roles being open, or open kickouts with paint touches with Elliott or Seth or RJ. Like, there's going to be kick out shots, and I think we need to reserve judgment right now. Let him get a couple games in of feeling this new role, feeling the new opportunities that he'll have, and kind of build from there.
Good. Love it. Thank you. I think that's so sage of you to be able to say. I mean, you as a shot coach, Mark, have you seen anything, not structurally, what am I, like foundationally, or just within shooting mechanics? That's what I'm looking for.
There you go. Mechanically.
Good grief. It took me a while to get
you found it.
Did you see anything in his mechanics that's off, or is it really just truly timing and getting settled in?
I haven't watched a ton of his shots. I got to be honest.
Great. That's fine.
I think I watch more UNC games as a fan as opposed to anything else. Like, sometimes the mechanics pop up. I would say that a lot of the shots I saw from him, and maybe some other guys, in the past and tonight, is like they'll let the ball get on top of them, where it's almost like they're forced into taking the shot instead of, seeing the shot as shot prep and seeing it as an opportunity of like, oh, this is a great look for me. So I think what I want to see from Elliott, Seth, and Tyson is seeing, every shot as an opportunity, and they're doing their work early with their feet and their shot prep. Like, to me, that's going to be the mark of, whether it goes in or not, that's going to be the mark of like, they're ready. They're here of like, this is a great shot for me.
Well, it sure does seem like Elliott Cadeau is taking that bull by the horns, because he was shooting and getting them up tonight. We can't talk about all negative. We got to get to some positive things, some silver linings, because it was a good night with good things. Carolina does get a win. We're going to get to those conversations coming up here in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good friends at 5 Hour Energy, who are fueling Mark and I right now as we record with you all at 11:45 Eastern time. Thank you to the nearly 200 of you that are hanging out in here with us right now, even on a late night. Who's staying up for that Baylor Gonzaga game, right? I'm going to right after we get done here. Our friends over at 5 Hour Energy know that being a passionate college basketball fan, it's not just a hobby, it's a way of life. And you've been stoked for today, opening day, and here you are. And that's why they've created a special flavor called Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot that gives you this fan fuel, is what they're calling it. The energy for super fans like you, who are the last ones to leave the Smith Center and the first ones to pop in here. And you know what's given me Tar Heel fan fuel this week? That tonight was the opening night of the regular season, and the fact that we're up doing this, and it's just 4 short days till Carolina goes to Fog Allen Fieldhouse to hopefully knock off the Jayhawks. 5 Hour Energy knows that no matter what team you root for, being a fan requires heart, soul, and a whole lot of energy. So whether you're prepping for the big tailgate, ironing your jersey, whatever it is for football, your to-do list on game day is always a mile long. That's why the limited edition Stand the Fan 5 Hour Energy Shot is here to keep you fueled throughout the season. So go check it out, all of it, at 5hourenergy.com. It's shipped nationwide. All right, Mark Campbell, let's talk about this 3-headed monster backcourt of Elliott Cadeau, Seth Trimble, and reigning ACC Player of the Year, RJ Davis. Now, here's the thing. We've talked so much this offseason that Carolina's backcourt is what's going to have to win the day. And I think we saw very early in this game just what the kind of DNA of this team is going to be. The first bucket of the season, Elliott Cadeau 3, who hit a career-high 3 of them in this game. Then you had an RJ Davis 3. Then you had a Seth Trimble layup. Then you had a Seth Trimble 3. Got fouled, missed the free throw. And also part of the Seth Trimble experience, at least historically. So, Mark, from what you saw from these guys tonight, do you think this is going to be doable for Hubert Davis?
Yeah, absolutely. What else are you going to do? These are your 3 best offensive talents right now. And I don't think that means that like Powell or Jackson couldn't come along at some point during the season, but these three guys you're going to live and die by their offense. And I think one thing that, gives you hope is that at some point, like RJ is the one that's going to really drive the ship. Everything's going to move off of how he plays. And the best thing about him is that he plays with incredible process. This guy is not afraid to make the right play every single time. And that takes a lot when you're a great scorer to consistently make the right play, whether it's your shot or a pass, whether it's for an assist or just one more. And I think because their personalities, those three guys, they really match up well. And I think they're going to be able to kind of merge together and keep it going throughout the year.
It's so interesting with Elliott because he had that massive first half where he had 7 assists, just 1 turnover, but then finishes the game with only 1 more assist and then 2 turnovers in the second half. But dude, it felt like RJ had this wickedly quiet 24 points. And I know it wasn't an efficient, 24 points. He was 3 of 11 from deep, but RJ did what he does from the free throw line, 7 of 7, and had some triple-double-y kind of numbers, 7 assists, 7 rebounds to go along with it. And I think that just speaks to what you're talking about with RJ is just this veteran who felt like for a while he was letting other guys find their way. I mean, is that a mark you see of him? Sorry, pun not intended with Mark there, but is that something you see from RJ is like, I'm going to kind of help get other guys involved and then I'll step up when I need to, as he eventually did?
I think it's so obvious that the game is moving at a snail's pace for him right now. Like it's incredible how much better he is than everybody else on the court. And I don't know if it's going to show up like that against Kansas, but I would not expect him to have bad games because defenses do anything to him. It's going to be about if he makes or misses shots because he is seeing the matrix very clearly. He understands what the right read is every single time. Early help, he's making a pass. Late help, it's his shot. Like, it's very clear that he has complete control of what's going on out there. So for me, I'm not going to be worried about anything he does throughout the year. It will totally be about makes and misses for him and nothing else. Elliott's the one that I really want to see turn up the knob. I would love to see Elliott really never take his foot off the gas because he's got incredible pop to him. He reads the game well. He sees everything. And I think right now there's probably a little bit in his head of, shooting has been a thing. And I'm sure there's a ton of, clips that he has put up in his locker about people talking shit about him. So for me, it's not even about percentages. It's about like every single opportunity he has that he can shoot it in rhythm and on bounce, let it rip. Somebody goes under a screen, set the tone early, let it rip.
One of the things I've heard you talk about, Mark, in some of your shooting instruction videos is how much more important the process is than those results. And it seems like Elliott is starting to find that more with some of his confidence, maybe even Seth as well. It feels like Seth was less deferential in this game than he often has been because he knows maybe how much he is needed. Like at what level is process and confidence so critically important for both of those guys? Because RJ already has it.
Yeah, RJ is fine with that. RJ is going to be just fine with that. No problem. I think for me, there were a few times against the zone in the second half, especially where they both turned down good shots to try to get better shots. But I think you got to keep the machine moving on schedule. And there were a lot of times where the ball got into the middle of the zone and it kicked back out and they were at either like the top or the left break or whatever it was. And there were opportunities to step in, early shot prep, like let one rip. And both of them turned them down multiple times. And I think to me, those are the ones that, especially in games like this, I want to see them let those rip because I want to see them let those rip when we play Kansas, when we play Alabama, because those are the shots that are going to make the machine A, move, but B, open up bigger driving lanes for those guys and make or miss. Like it should be up every single time.
We've talked so much about the backcourt. We haven't spent much time. I know we talked Jay Witt some earlier in our conversation, Mark, but as you look at Jalen Washington, who was scoreless in the first half, had a nice little flurry there at the start of the second half, but you look at some of the intangibles Van Allen Lubin brings, where, you've got him adding 7 rebounds, 4 of which were offensive. Didn't have quite the offensive output he did against Johnson C. Smith, where he had that double-double. But what did you see from some of the front court guys to help go with what this electric backcourt is doing?
Yeah, I think they're going to be complementary. And the more that those guys lean into complementary, the more that they're going to play. I think the guys that are willing to crash the glass hard, look for immediately, if I'm not finishing right off the bat, where is my kick out for an offensive rebound three? I think the guys that lean into that are going to be the ones that are going to be the supporting role cast that play a lot of minutes, because the firepower is in the guard spots, and we're going to be looking at the bigs that can lean into, I'm playing as hard as possible, I'm grabbing every rebound, I'm outletting quick, and then I'm on the move. I'm boogieing. Like, I'm rolling hard, I'm dunking everything, and if not, I'm kicking it out.
One of the things I liked that I saw from this team that perhaps we haven't seen as much in the Hubert Davis era was the way they shared the ball and didn't turn it over much. At halftime, Carolina had 13 assists and just 1 turnover, and 13 assists, by the way, on 18 made baskets. For the game, they finished with 22 assists on 32 made field goals. That's a 68.8% assist rate, which, look, in the Hubert Davis era, I've just been happy, Mark, when we get to 50% in that metric. And so, they blew that out of the water, but finished the game 22 assists, 6 turnovers. And I think that's going to be another critical part of how this offense is going to have to function, have to find each other well, share the ball well, because it's not just dump it in and get out of the way. The only time we might see those assists go down is when the spacing is right and they're able to attack and finish.
Yeah, I think the more we get out and run, the more you're going to see those numbers pop up. And then the more we're willing to take in rhythm and on balance shots in the flow of the offense, the more you're going to see those numbers go up. Because when you're turning down wide open shots in rhythm and on balance, you're most likely driving into a congested paint, and good things do not happen then. So the more we defend and get out and run, the more we're going to see really good numbers like that. And then taking on schedule shots is going to be a huge deal for this team. Make or miss, it's going to be a massive deal.
All right. Obviously, it's game one. I think there were some freshman jitters from both Ian Jackson and Drake Powell, but we saw some nice. I thought we saw more cohesive moments from Drake Powell tonight than we did from Ian. Specifically, obviously, we didn't get any minutes from the other freshmen, from James Brown, and no time either for Ty Claude, who's just kind of getting into the mix back from getting that eligibility for him. And so we only saw the 9 players play tonight. But Mark, as you look at the 2 freshmen, let's hit that, and then we'll go see what kind of comments we got to take from everyone. What did you like, or maybe want to see more of, from both of those freshmen tonight?
I think I wanted to see more decisiveness on their catches. They both play on the wing. When they were out in transition, great things are going to happen. The better they defend, the more they're going to play. But for me, it was on every catch in the half court. It was a little bit of like catch and hold. What should I do? A little bit of jitterness. And I think you saw even in the second half, I think it was Jackson that went in to go finish and just jumped into somebody. And I think in high school, that's a call that you get, and every single level you move up, you have to understand it's like an athletic filter. So these guys are going to stand out athletically, but right now the game was moving a little fast for them tonight. And I think it will slow down the more decisive they get on each catch, whether it's this is an in rhythm on balance shot, I'm letting it go, or this is a catch and rip and go, and I'm going downhill and I'm going to read early help pass or late help, it's my finish. So for me, it'll be seeing them get more comfortable and get more decisive on making quick decisions as they catch.
And we're going to get more of that on Friday night, man. They're going to just be thrown right into the fire there in Lawrence, Kansas. So ready or not, boys, here it comes.
The fog.
So have fun with that. All right. There are a ton of comments over here in the chat, and so we're going to get to those, and we'll hit that coming up in just a second. Right after I tell you about our good old friends at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel right now, America's #1 sportsbook, because new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL. They're all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can come check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. I haven't seen the line for Carolina at Kansas yet, but I can guarantee that the Jayhawks are going to be favored in this game. So if you believe in the Heels to at least cover, maybe you want to go smash that over at FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and go make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Okay, Isaac Schade, Mark Campbell with you here, coming live immediately after Carolina's opening night 90-76 win over a feisty Elon team that threw a zone at Carolina that they were having to try to diagnose. Mark, that's got to be frustrating on night one, if we're being honest, man. I'm hoping for some one-on-one where we can just get out and run. And here Coach Billy's just junking it up. What does that make you feel like as a player on night one to be like, really, a zone? Come on, man.
This is college basketball. Zones are everywhere. They're going to play zone. And I think the biggest thing is, like, we got to be able to shoot the ball. So, like, what are we doing here? Come on. No turning down shots. Let it go. Yeah,
for sure. And it felt like Carolina got bogged down by it, and they need to be ready to operate with that. Man, so many interesting people are all over the place on this game, back and forth, of some people feeling really good about it and others not. And so here's a question, Mark, from Derek Thiessen. Derek, we've already addressed the first part of this. I want to look at the back part of it. Derek says, are you surprised Withers started? We've already looked at that. But Derek says, and do you think Drake Powell could eventually start and play the 4? Mark, this is a projection ahead, because I think this is something that, if it's going to happen, is probably at least 10 games away if you're going to see a change. I think maybe the bigger question is, do you think we're going to continue to see Jalen Withers in that spot for the foreseeable future?
I think so. I think we need the athleticism. I think we need the grit. He's got a little bit more bulk than Powell does, in terms of rebounding or matching up and being able to switch. College, you still play some bulkier 4 guys that would post. I think putting Powell at the 4 right now might be a little bit too much for him, in terms of size wise. But I tell you what, we get really scary athletic with him at the 4. Dude. And when you think about some of the best lineups, like Marvin Williams came off the bench. There was a long period of time where Danny Green came off the bench for Carolina. I don't think he started till his senior year.
Right.
So I think there's moments where, like, we could have, Golden State-esque, like we could have our death lineup and it could be Powell at the 4 and we get really fast and really athletic and be able to turn the intensity up defensively.
And even if that's not the starting 5, you can certainly go to that at multiple times throughout the course of a game as game script dictates in that. Mark, next question comes to us from the Nintendo Nerd, who says, what are your thoughts on when Elliott wasn't in the game? That's where I was personally thought we struggled, especially early. And so, Elliott's out. Typically, it's going to be RJ running the show. I think we'll see every now and again Seth manning the 1, but I think more often than not, it'll be RJ. What were your thoughts on how Carolina looked sans Elliott Cadeau?
I think we're better with Elliott, not only because Elliott is really good, but it frees up RJ to be incredibly aggressive, playing from an advantage off the ball. And so for me, RJ's best actions are when he's catching off the ball, whether it's coming off a screen, the first 3, he had a wonderful movement read, ball got to the paint, he made a sprint from the slot all the way down past the break. I think that's his best action. So when Elliott's on the court, it frees him up to do that. I really don't have any, bad juju about RJ running the point. RJ sees it all right now. Like, we're going to be fine. The Elliott minutes on the bench will be fine eventually, but they won't be our best lineups because it won't let RJ run free, and it'll definitely slow our pace down because Elliott on the break is phenomenal, and he's making incredible decisions from the summer to now. He's really, really good when he gets out going on the break.
Yeah, I like that, Mark. This next one actually also comes from the Nintendo Nerd, who I think puts this in good perspective for everyone. The defense was always going to take a while to fully mesh. I'm not overly concerned about this team finding its defensive identity, but, and this is a big but, we left way too many people open for 3, and we ultimately paid for it. Let me get to Elon's shooting numbers. They were 13 of 29 from 3, 44.8%. And the bigger number was in the first half where they were 8 of 17, 47.1%. Mark, what did you see from Carolina in their ability to run players off the line or not? Or is it just Elon hitting some tough shot? Like Nick Dorn had that fadeaway three in the corner in front of his bench. That was just silly. And it's like, of course, Dorn, a Tar Heel son, is out here doing that. You could have spotted that from a mile away coming into this game.
Yeah. Well, first thing, no, the Dean Dome is incredibly friendly to shoot in. It's one of the best gyms for your eyes. The court has this beautiful bounce to it. There's air underneath it. It feels very light. It's an awesome gym to shoot in. So anytime you see teams lighten it up in there, that's why. It's one of the better gyms to shoot in. But I think that we really gave a little too much relaxation on the ball defensively. We allowed for a little too many opportunities to have to help, crack our defensive shell a little bit. And Elon made some nice shots. I think there were times in the first half where we really didn't communicate well on off-ball screens. We didn't talk great. We messed up a few coverages. We didn't either switch or we stayed. We were indecisive. And I think we gave up some open shots early in the game, in the first half off those type blown coverages. So I think for me, it's going to be really important, A, that the communication picks up and we don't keep botching coverages. Whoever talks first, that's who has control. And then B, the on-ball pressure just keeps getting more and more turned up, because the more we're controlling the ball, the more we're attacking the ball on defense, the less we're going to give up wide open shots.
And it felt like there were times where that on-ball pressure, especially from the three starting guards, was strong, right? Like not just Seth, like both Elliott and RJ as well. And those multiple times turned into runouts. And it's like as you said earlier, Mark, the more of that we see, the better position we'll be in. Douglas Higgins says, do y'all think we need to attack the basket more? We got kind of content at times around the perimeter and not driving. And he says specifically in the second half. And let's point back. Obviously, I know it's a D2 opponent, but Johnson C. Smith, it felt like Carolina was relentless in getting to the rim and either finishing or getting fouled and finishing at the free throw line. Mark, did you see, were there better ways to attack that zone tonight that Carolina was kind of lackadaisical in?
Well, I think not allowing him to get in the zone would be first. We would definitely want to get it up and go quickly. But I think it's more so once they get in it, like, you really have to establish, like, hey, we can shoot the ball. Even in the first half, there were 2 or 3 times early where, Powell got a touch at the free throw line and caught and turned and just, froze a little bit. I think being decisive when you catch it in that pocket, whether it's turn, shoot, turn, attack, turn, kick out is a huge deal, because attacking in a zone isn't always from the drive. Like, you get it to that midpoint, that foul line, you've cracked the shell, you're inside of it, you've compressed it. Like, it's really about being decisive then of like, this is a shot for me, this is an attack, and if it's help up the lane pass, or this is a kick out and it's got to be a shot. And so I think being decisive when we got the ball to the middle, because we did get it there, is a big deal when we see the zones.
Mark, last thing, and then we'll get out of here and get ready for a couple other things. We haven't talked about Carolina's 3-point shooting in totality. The Tar Heels finished 13 of 32, 40.6%, actually a little bit better than their total field goal percentage, meaning then that they shot better from 3 than 2 in this game. And there were a lot of Tar Heels that contributed. Elliott Cadeau, as we said, a career high 3 made threes, 3 of 4. RJ hit 3. Seth Trimble also hit 3. He was 3 of 4. Jalen Withers, 2 of 3. Drake Powell, 1 of 2. Ian Jackson, 1 of 4. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different Tar Heels connected from 3. At what level is that shooting going to have to be consistent for Carolina to function at the height of their capability?
Yes, we want to make shots, of course.
Okay, folks, for those of you unaware, in order to win basketball games, you're going to want to hit basketball shots, get the orange thing in the round hoopy thing.
Yes, we would like to do that, but more so we want to take them. I think it's more so for me, like, one game, you can't get bogged down in numbers, even a couple games. Like, we need more of a sample size. It needs to be 10, 15 games, but more so than makes is like, are we taking the right shots? Are we turning down shots that are in rhythm and on balance? We shouldn't be doing that. Are we taking them on schedule? That's what we're looking for. So it's more so of, are we taking the right shots? Are we taking them when we should? And anytime RJ shoots, it's the right shot.
As we prepare to get out of here, as we start thinking ahead now to Kansas on Friday, Mark Campbell, if you are Hubert Davis, what's your message for this team coming out of this game?
Ooh, I think that he's going to have a lot of really good film from the things that he's probably been harping on when they've been in practice or when they've been playing against one another. I think he's going to have a lot of good examples, a lot of good clips from this where he can really drive points home. I think the main point is probably going to be defensive. It's going to be about communication and not blowing coverages. I think it's going to be about ball pressure. And I think there's going to be tons of stuff to show that says when we play really good defense and we get out and run, whether it's from a turnover or a stop, we're a much, much better team. We're way more dangerous. So to me, I think that would probably be the message over the next couple of days. And the offense will take care of itself if you do the good things defensively.
Okay, love it. And so that's what we will prepare for on Friday. Gang, thank you so much for joining us on our first regular season live reaction show. Mark Campbell, brother, it is great to have you on board with us, folks. Y'all are wild for staying up late with us. Thankfully, Friday is not a 9 p.m. Eastern tip. That is great news for all of us and my sleep cycles. So if you have not yet subscribed to the show, please make sure you go ahead and do so on both video and audio on YouTube. You can smash that bell notification so you get notified as soon as we go live. Also, please make sure to go check out all of Mark's great content. He's got both a Substack with all sorts of wonderful material. He's got his own YouTube page. Both of those are linked in the show notes. Go click them right now. I have been working through all of it, and it is phenomenal content. If you're a basketball junkie, it is for you. And even if you just want to learn more about the game, it's a great place to go find out more. If you haven't joined the Locked On Tar Heels Discord, man, it was going off tonight in the live basketball chat, as you would well imagine. We'd love to have you join us there. It's free to join. Link for that is in the show notes. And if you want to go even deeper, join the Locked On Tar Heels Insiders, where you have direct access to me and free access to all of my stats and charts and data. I'm about to go update those right now from game one as soon as Mark and I hop off of here. All right, guys, you know the drill. It's always a great day to be a Tar Heel. We'll be right back with you tomorrow. I'm about to go record that show. But until then, peace.